This podcast is brought to you by Reynolds and Reynolds, the industry leader in automotive technology. Learn how Spark AI, Reynolds' unified AI data layer, can help you unlock your full potential by visiting rey.com/spark-AI. That's REY.com/spark-AI.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, GM is moving Buick crossover production out of China and into Kansas. Cash buyers are costing dealers big money in the F&I office. And Scott Painter is back at TrueCar and taking it private. Plus, Karma Automotive President Marcus McCammon discusses the company's complete product reinvention, ending its 11-year-old nameplate and launching a new lineup of ultra-luxury models.
Higher performance, quicker, new technology, new interior, whole carbon body. Everything about it is moved up 2 levels from where the brand has been in the past.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. GM is shifting production of its Buick compact crossover out of China and into the U.S. The automaker announced the successor to the Envision will be built at its Fairfax assembly plant in Kansas starting in 2028. That moves production of the top-selling vehicle imported to the U.S. from China to American soil, where it will be built alongside the Chevrolet Equinox on a shared platform. It's a strategic pivot amid tariff pressures. The Envision has faced higher duties under Trump administration trade policy, with sales dropping 11% last year to just under 42,000 units. The decision adds to GM's $5.5 billion in recent U.S. manufacturing investments, reinforcing its domestic footprint as trade tensions reshape sourcing strategies. Cash buyers are costing dealers serious money in the F&I office. 19% of new vehicle sales in the third quarter were cash deals, up from pre-pandemic levels. That's even as vehicles got pricier and interest rates dropped. It's a problem for dealers, since the average cash deal generates just $461 in F&I gross profit, compared to nearly $2,000 on financed sales. But there's opportunity. 21% of cash buyers still purchased service contracts. Dealers like Holman are offering 0% payment plans specifically for F&I products, helping convert some of that lost revenue. As one executive put it, it's about value selling, not cost. And Scott Painter is back at TrueCar, the company he founded in 2005. And this time, he's taking it private. Painter led an investment group including AutoNation and Zurich North America that closed a $227 million deal on Wednesday to buy the struggling vehicle listings platform. His mission? Make TrueCar profitable for the first time ever. Painter left in 2015 after dealers fled over pricing concerns. The company has never turned a profit despite years of restructuring and platform overhauls. Now, he's focused on building partnerships with TrueCar's 11,500 dealerships nationwide. And those are today's headlines. You can find more details on all those stories at autonews.com. Suppliers signaled more confidence about their company's performance at the end of a tumultuous 2025, but they remain more pessimistic about the future of the auto industry overall than their automaker and dealer peers. That's according to the latest Automotive News Auto Industry Confidence Index. Joining me now to talk more about it is our own John Irwin. John, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Thanks for having me back.
So, John, why are suppliers more confident than last year? And what are the big lingering concerns?
Yeah, we saw a little bit of improvement in how suppliers are thinking about their own businesses, at least. We look at the previous survey that we did in the third quarter of last year. About 47% of suppliers said that they were feeling, optimistic to some degree about their own, the performances of their own business. But that jumped all the way up to 60% just a few months later. And I think a lot of that is driven, there are a few factors at play, but a lot of it is driven just by, I think a lot of companies demonstrated a decent amount of resilience. I mean, you think back to like the middle of last year, just given all the uncertainty surrounding, tariff policy, where things might end up on electrification, what companies' plans will be there, what government policy will be. There was just a lot of unknowns, and there still are a ton of unknowns, a lot of uncertainty moving forward. But there's, I think, at least a little bit more confidence in where things might end up for a lot of companies, where they're seeing, okay, we have an idea at least of, where automakers are thinking, their electrification plans are going to look like in the next few years and might be pulling back. Maybe that's good for our business if we're, more in the ICE space or what have you. And also the production is sort of held up, I think, to a larger degree than some people in the supply base were expecting, which is obviously good for, suppliers. The more vehicles that are built, the more parts that they need to make. And that, I think that's held up to a degree. At the same time, though, there's certainly, some concerns that are lingering for the auto industry and for the supply base in particular. We surveyed for the first time for this most recent survey suppliers and asking them about financial distress in the supply chain. Pretty significant majority of suppliers say that that's a concern for them. They're worried about, smaller companies in their supply chains. Are they going to be able to hold up? They might have to do if, let's say a small company, whether they go bankrupt or they run into some sort of issue in production or, things related to tariffs, how are those going to impact those smaller companies? And that's a pretty significant concern. It's something that I know suppliers and automakers as well are keeping a close eye on moving forward. But yeah, a little bit of improvement overall in terms of how suppliers are at least viewing their own businesses. That's for sure.
Well, you write that a lot of the negativity about the future is about the overall health of the industry rather than expectations for how their companies would perform individually. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's interesting. The majority of suppliers are feeling good about their own businesses, but at the same time, significant majority of them are more pessimistic about when we ask about the state of the auto industry than their automaker and dealer peers. And I think a lot of that, again, is just, I think, driven by long-term uncertainty and concern, I guess, related in large part to, I think trade is a big part of it. We have this year, there's still a lot of uncertainty just about where, for instance, the USMCA might end up. We're looking at, negotiations this year. There's a review slated for July, but, we've seen Trump sort of float the idea of exiting the USMCA, or there might be significant changes to it. Obviously, long-term, that's something that suppliers in North America, at least, are really, they need to know what the rules for trade are going to be moving forward when they think about where they want to invest and that sort of thing. That's the case for automakers as well, but I think for suppliers, it's a particularly acute issue. And, a lot of them are also, just thinking a little bit about the strain in the tier 2, tier 3 level. There are a lot of smaller companies that, we just might not hear of. A lot of tier 1 suppliers might be feeling pretty good about their own businesses, but, if some small company, deep in the supply chain that makes one little component that's crucial for, the entire supply chain, if they run into an issue, we've seen that with semiconductors recently where, if there's just one company that makes one part and we're so tied up with that, there might be issues down the line. And I think those concerns are still very much lingering, especially just given a lot of the long-term uncertainty surrounding tariffs and trade and that sort of thing, what the ripple effects of that might be throughout the supply chain. So yeah, I think companies are, feeling good about maybe some of the resilience that they're showing individually, but they're concerned maybe just more broadly about the industry and where things are at and where they might move in the future. And, things will continue to evolve, as hopefully they'll get more certainty on trade policy, no matter what's going to happen one way or another in the coming months. And that might inform how they view the state of the industry moving forward once we get that. But in the meantime, it's just a lot of treading water, I think. And that's, for a lot of companies, they'd rather be moving forward rather than just kind of sitting and waiting around.
John, always thorough. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much.
You can read all of our results from our latest Automotive News Auto Industry Confidence Index at autonews.com or in the pages of this week's print edition of Automotive News. Coming up, we'll hear from Marcus McCammon, president of Karma Automotive. That's next on Daily Drive.
If you're an automotive supplier and you know your team is building the next big thing, prove it on the industry's biggest innovation stage. Automotive News is now accepting applications for the 2026 PACE program. PACE Awards recognize traditional and non-traditional suppliers worldwide for new product, process, and business model innovation, and entries must be innovations already commercialized through a sale to an automaker. Still pre-commercial but past the pilot stage? PACE Pilot recognizes post-pilot, pre-commercial innovations across automotive and future mobility, products, software, IT systems, and processes with the potential to revolutionize an automaker's business. All submissions are reviewed by an independent panel of judges, and MEMA is the exclusive lead sponsor. Ready to be recognized? Apply by February 9th at autonews.com.
When your AI tools are siloed, lost data, duplicate entries, and confusion are inevitable. Spark AI isn't another AI tool to manage. Instead, it's a unified AI data layer, changing the game by ensuring your solutions are making life easier and working at their highest capacity. Don't miss Spark at NADA. Watch Ray, our new AI assistant, bring everything together in one intuitive command center for smart, fast decision-making. Ray answers your questions at any time, providing instant messaging, insights, help videos, or live support. Instantly analyze your sales history and market trends, or generate a sales report with one prompt. You can even ask which cars to buy at auction today for the best return. Schedule an appointment at our booth for everything from a short demo to a full retail management system demonstration using our core AI products. Visit rayray.com/NADA. That's REYREY.com/NADA.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Karma Automotive is undergoing a complete product reinvention. The ultra-luxury automaker closed out production of its Rivero nameplate after 11 years and is launching an entirely new lineup in 2026. Karma President Marcus McCammon spoke with our own Jake Neer at CES in Las Vegas this month.
Marcus McCammon, welcome to Daily Drive.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so first of all, tell us a little bit about your experience here at CES and what are some of the through lines you're hearing, and what is Karma hoping to get out of this show?
Absolutely. So CES is something I've been a part of probably since 2014. So it's interesting to come and see how it's changing. I think for us as Karma, it's interesting to see how the world is converging on what role software and AI are going to play in everything. Right? And so for us, this is a trend that we've seen coming for a long time. We see that even in the ultra luxury segment, we think that there's a role for how AI plays into the lifestyle and experience of the vehicle and the brand that we really need to lean into. And for us, what we're doing is working on expanding and establishing partners. We're looking for who's pushing the envelope next. And frankly, the biggest thing is we think we're looking for the models that enable collaboration for the future, because that's the path to success.
Give me sort of your perspective. I'm really fascinated where you sit here and what CES must be like, because I mean, it's so important for the ultra luxury segment to be cutting edge, to be offering the latest and the greatest, and that's got to be a really big job to I mean, just looking around this hall, I mean, how many companies are saying that that's exactly what they're offering?
Yes.
How do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's daunting, I think, but what we have to think about is, for us, the relationship with the customer has to be bespoke. So we have to think about how do we use the technologies and the products that are here as a platform that we can build unique experiences on top of, right? And I think that this is part and parcel to the way that software and tech are going to play into automotive into the future. It won't be that you build a single one version vertical solution and it fits everyone. You have to create a baseline from which the consumer can find the experiences that matter to them, and then you can deliver it to them in a quality, packaged, and repeatable way.
So does that mean building a base of partners that is extremely wide, that you have a lot of different places to go to for? Because if one person wants one solution and another person wants a different solution, it changes your sort of which partner you're going to tap for that.
Yeah, I think it's about building an ecosystem of the right core. Okay, so I always liken this, I hate when people use the analogy of the cars of the future being like cell phones on wheels. It's crazy.
We hear that a lot.
I know, but the reality of the cell phone is that inside of an Apple operating system or an Android operating system, there's an opportunity for all manner of services to come to you as a customer, and you can cater those services to the way that you want to live. So if we think of that thought process, not turning the car into a cell phone, but if we think of that process, that there's an ecosystem of services and there has to be some uniform platform underneath them that allows me to tap into them at your request, that's the way that we look at the market. And there are some suppliers, some tier ones and tech companies who have a similar thought process.
So we're sitting here early January. What does 2026 look like for Karma? It sounds like you have some big plans for new products.
Very big. Yeah. So 2025, we closed out with the last of our Revero product line. So the Revero is the nameplate that we launched the company on in 11 years ago. Okay. So now Revero has seen its last production build. And now everything for us is focused on the entire new product portfolio that we've been debuting. So the GS Aero will launch in the middle of this year, and it will replace Revero as our Grand Coupe. Higher performance, quicker, new technology, new interior, whole carbon body. Everything about it is moved up 2 levels from where the brand has been in the past. And then after that, then we start moving into our GTs, our GT coupes. So the Amaris will be the first one, the first 2-door that you've ever seen coming from Karma. And that's due the first one to roll off by the end of 2026.
That's big plans. I'm curious what the space for ultra luxury is like in 2026 right now. I mean, what are some of the advantages in this segment, and what are some of the challenges, especially as you're rolling out these products and trying to get attention, trying to build a customer base?
Yeah, so I think the advantages. Let's start off the ultra luxury space in the U.S. for one is frankly the largest and the most profitable across the entire segment globally. So we usually account for about 30 to 33% of sales for all the manufacturers in this segment. So it's the right place. The other thing is the amount of people in that buying space is increasing at, depending on who's doing the analysis, between 7% and 15% CAGR year on year. So we're seeing more wealthy people who are buying into these car experiences. The other thing is that the notion of customization and bespoke vehicles is also rising. So that, I mean, we see that from every one of the conventional manufacturers, whether it's premium brands or ultra luxury brands. So we see that is really playing to our strengths. And then there's also a strong motivation to buy American. Okay. And it's not just here in the US, but it's globally. So the fact that we design, engineer, and manufacture the cars here, they're rare. They're intended to be rare. I think we're fitting. Now, the thing that's unique is everyone always sees Karma and they think we're an electric vehicle company. We're not. So all of our vehicles are hybridized, but frankly, so is most of the other super sport cars that are in the marketplace. We just tend to put the electric drive as a primary mover as opposed to the secondary mover.
That's exactly what I wanted to get into next. I've been thinking a lot about the range extender model recently. I'm an EV driver myself. I love EVs. And honestly, I'm one of those people that likes the environmental benefit of an EV. But I'm also sort of at odds with other like-minded people about range extenders because we hear time and time again that one of the things that is a barrier to EV adoption is that people just haven't experienced it. They kind of think about it. They think green first, and then they say no, I have I live somewhere where there's no chargers. There's no, the infrastructure is just not there. And honestly, I just don't have the interest. With range extenders, to me, it's wow, you could get a lot of people that otherwise would sort of poo-poo the idea of an electric vehicle into an electric drivetrain.
That's right.
And they could see all the benefits. Talk about that strategy from your perspective and sort of maybe a broader look at what that could mean for the market.
Yeah, I think when I think about range extenders, I usually think about through a cultural lens, right? So the issue that many people have faced when we talked about electrification is you gave them a notion that there had to be some kind of compromise, right? So the electric, oh yes, it's torquey and it's fast and it's quiet, but the quiet, you took away my exhaust note, and I bought a Mustang because I liked the way it sounded. Great, I don't have to ever go to a gas pump, but now I have to think more judiciously about when I'm going to travel long distances. I mean, there's some, the other manufacturers, Lucid, they have different solutions to it, but you gave the person an opportunity to put a barrier up. when we think about range extenders and the way that we execute them, we think about freedom. Okay, so what I say is, I was at an event here in Vegas, and I was with a bunch of engineers, car tuners, kind of old gearheads, right? And when I said that we had electric drive, I got boos. I said, but hold on, we are all engineers.
They actually booed you.
They actually booed. Okay, and I said, but look, I'm a gearhead. I helped start the SRT group. I ran Celine for a period of time, so I've been around high performance vehicles my whole career, and I love them. Okay. And when you're making a race car, you're trying to make something more efficient, period. So an electric drive motor is efficient. So let's use the efficiency. But if I can tell you that I don't have to make you think twice about where you go because you still have a gasoline engine. So now I take the notion of a barrier away. Okay. And then if you get to choose when you use one or the other, then what I gave you was freedom. And if you find that as you experience our cars and our range extenders, that you love the EV experience better, then guess what? I created a convert. If you don't, then that's fine. You still have the ability to drive as fast as any Aston, but you're going to have 5-10 times the fuel economy, all right, and less greenhouse gas emissions than any of the other cars in the segment.
I mean,
it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up, anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing for us as we go into 2026 is for people to understand how Karma thinks about value, right? For us, we see that our vehicles, you asked me about the benefits of being at the loftier place in the market. The other thing that it allows me to do is to lean into technology without having to compromise the benefits of it because I'm worried about the price point. And what that does is allows me an opportunity to be a contributor to the broader conversation. So, I used to run automotive systems at Wind River. I ran Ricardo's automotive business for a while. And what I see is the future, the next 5 to 10 years for the industry is going to continue to be transformative. I want Karma to be a participant in that transformation, even as we are helping people to re-engage with their passion and love for true driving. So that's what we're all about.
And I maybe this is a loaded question, but do you see that there's more room or less room for emerging companies right now?
Oh, that's a very loaded question.
Well,
I think the answer is yes, right? So and not to be elusive, right?
Yeah.
But I think that there's more room because everyone that's changing the narrative is an emerging company, right? The emerging companies are challenging the way that the established companies think about what they do at every level of the company, and then when you go globally, it's even more so. Now, but the less is because the companies that are here and are established are more vigorous and more focused on what their long-term survival looks like. So if I'm coming into this as an emerging company and my agenda is only one for myself and for my company, then there's high probability that you fail. But if you're in it to be a part of the society and the change that's going to happen across the industry and help to lead to the growth of the future, then I think that there's a lot of opportunity.
Marcus Buchanan, CEO of Karma Automotive, thank you so much for joining us here at CES.
Thanks for having me, Anna. I really appreciate it.
Have a great rest of the show.
You too.
That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to automotive news journalists Lindsay Van Hully, John Hutter, Mark Holmer, and John Irwin for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on the ultra-luxury segment, GM's manufacturing strategy, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back tomorrow for more on how all-cash deals are hurting dealers' F&I bottom lines. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoyed the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.